Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today's tutorial is on this large album with the latch closure. Now, finished size after putting it all together, we are about 8 1/4 by 10 1/8, and the broadest part of the spine is about 2 7/8 wide. So this one is really a beautiful feminine style album, and the colors just flow and it's so tranquil. I love it. This was done with the Mintay Elodie paper pack. So I'm going to take you around here. We just have this going on, and we have a good spacing in there. So let's open this up and get into it. Right off the bat, we have this magnetic closure, holds everything in. And right here we have a side pocket, and I have a picture mat in there. We open this up, and I just did a folder with some of the leftover papers. I don't have any more paper for the inside, so if I was to finish this, I'd have to do a solid colored cardstock to bring into the album. But I think this came out absolutely beautiful. Over here we have another large fold out, and we have a pocket. And I'm not sure if you can tell or not, but we pleated the decorative paper to give it some texture, and it came out so pretty. And then that folds out, so a lot of places for photographs and a lot of pockets in this album. If you like pockets, this is probably the one for you. And then I have a larger one and another one I created with the leftover paper. And again, a pocket, and we pleated the paper. Over here, we have a large pocket and a tuck right here. And again, I did folders in here, a lot of them. And here's a photo mat. And again, we did the pleated pocket style there. Let's move on to the next page. This is a magnetic flip, so great area for a photograph right here. And when we open this up, you'll notice that there's this fold out here. So you can place a photo here, you can get a couple on the landscape, or one large one over here. And if you wanted to put one right in here, you could. This area open for a good size photo. And again, we have that extra little fold out here for photos. Over here, we did a pocket with a tuck back there. Again, I ran out of the leftover paper, so this will hold much more than what you see I got. I have a large photo mat here, large pocket, and again, this is a tuck area. Moving on, we have a large fold out. This print is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to move this over or fold that out. We have a double pocket here, so you can get one in the back and one up front. And then over here is another fold out, and you can get another photo mat in there. Probably get a couple in there easily. And then you fold that out, and we have another pocket, and I had a photo mat in there. And then you can also get on the landscape your photos in there. Or if you wanted to do two, you can do one here and maybe stagger one over, or just using smaller photographs. Over here is just a double pocket. Okay, right here, what we have is a magnetic flip. You can place a photo in here or just leave it like that. But because these were so narrow, I want to show you what my solution was, because I do like the kind of the doors coming out. So what we ended up doing is adding on to the back of this with some more cardstock. So now this creates a very large area for a photograph to get in there. And on this side, what we did was a pocket. So if you had a large photo mat that actually pokes out, you could still get it in there. And then a large pocket back here, and we did do the pleating, and I think that came out so cool. And then a couple photo mats in there. And then our last page is a large double pocket. And the one up front is spaced out about 1/8 of an inch, so you can even get more in there. I just made a folder for this, and then I have a couple back in behind. You see that? Kind of just rest on in there. And the layout of this is just absolutely beautiful. This was fun to work with. So that is what we are making today. Let's move into the materials list. Materials list. Let's go over them. We're going to need 2 of the Mintay Elodie paper packs, and these are the 12 by 12 size. 1 pack of the American Crafts 80-pound 12 by 12 white cardstock. You're going to need some Tyvek. You're going to need 2.5 sheets of chipboard. This is the 12 by 12 medium weight. So 2.5. And the half is for the other side of the spine, and then you're going to need this left over here for some shims. You're going to want 2 packs of the 3/8 score tape. I'm using the Art Glitter Dries Clear Glue, and you'll also want to get that precision metal tip. 1 pack of the basic gray large magnetic discs. You're going to need some brads. I'm using the Tim Holtz long fasteners, and that is for our latch. Now, one thing I want to tell you about these latches that I brought into my store, they come with 4 little screws. We won't be using those. Now, in order to keep costs down, I used to carry these in a really good quality. These are very cheap. These are the right swing. They're hollowed on the back. So this is not something you're going to want to buy for your cupboards or something like that. This is perfect for our albums. They're lightweight and they're inexpensive. When I used to sell these in a better quality, the prices now are so high, I'm not willing to spend $6 on 1 latch. These are really cheap. They're $1.99 in my store. And these work perfect for our album. Stickles, I am using Stardust, and you can use diamond. They're almost the same. I am using some handmade flowers and some leaves. You don't have to, but I am. And you can use any one in my tutorials to shape and all that, but I'm going to show you the inks that I used. Now for the blue, I'm using the Memento Summer Sky. This is perfect color for our album. It matches in perfectly. For the lighter pinks and some of these whiter colored, I put a little dab of a little pink on some of the whiter ones in the center, or you can just do white with some stickles or glossy accents. But this pink is Spun Sugar by Tim Holtz, and it is the perfect pink for this. Inside my flowers, you will notice that I have what's called lemon chiffon prills. You can use whatever you want. If you'd rather use a white or a different color, you can. Now, I am going to be experimenting with implementing this color into my album, and I hope it works. And I think it might on some of the pages, but it's seedless preserves. And I just went really light around the edges on these, and then I did do some darker on the edges on that. So I'm going to try and implement that for a little more color. For my leaves, all I did, and these are from the leftover project, is I used the peeled paint, which is a darker green, and then the crushed olive for the lighter. Some of mine have the glossy accents on top of it. Now, another way to do this, if you're not making your own flowers, is what you can do is get the Tim Holtz white bouquet flowers. Now, these are small, and you can clip off little bits, But what you can do is use the inks that I did and just kind of blot on colors. You can use your stickles on them. I have some stickles here on some of my flowers. And you can do it that way. Equipment that you're going to need is a scoring board, paper cutter. You'll definitely need your ruler, scissors, pencil, eraser, your scoring tool or bone folder, and a craft knife is always handy. Let's begin by building our base album. We're on to building the base album, and this is a little bit different than other albums because we got a couple spines and a fold over piece. So let's review off our cutting guide what we are going to need to build the base album. And under this video in the description area there is a link to getting the materials and cutting guide. First thing on our PDF was to cut 2 pieces that were 8 by 10 and we labeled them cover, and these are on chipboard. Then what we cut was 2 pieces of chipboard that were 2 3/8 by 10 inch. One we labeled main spine, the other one we labeled cover wrap over. We then had another piece of chipboard was 2 5/8 by 10 inch and we called that a right spine. And then there was a note, all you needed was a small little piece of chipboard scrap. And if yours is a long piece, that'll work too. Long skinny piece, that'll work. Next, we cut 4 pieces of Tyvek that were 1 inch by 10 inch. We did not label them. They're pretty distinct. Now the rest of our pre-cuts are done on our 12 by 12 white cardstock, and I'm using the American Crafts 80 pound. We had 2 pieces that were 11 inch by 12 inch and we called it an album wrap. We had a 5 1/4 by 12 inch long. We labeled that album wrap. We had 1 piece that was 4 1/2 by 9 1/2. We called it a main inner spine cover. We had 2 pieces that were 7 3/4 by 9 1/2 and we called those inner cover. 1 piece was cut at 5 3/4 by 9 1/2, right spine cover. And our last was 3 pieces of 8 1/4 by 9 1/2. This was our inner page, and I only labeled one of mine, but we do have scoring on this. So on each one of these, what we did was we laid this on our scoring board, so we are 8 1/4 across. On each one of these, we scored at 5/8. The first pieces that we are going to want are the 11 by 12 album wrap, and we also have another piece that is 5 1/4 by 12 inch album wrap. Now to situate us, right now we are 11 inches wide, we are 12 inches tall. To keep yourself situated, go ahead and write a 12 at the top of each one of these so we know that we are 12 inches tall. And this one will be 5 1/4 wide by 12 inches tall. Okay? Got my score tape here. Now over to the right side of one of your pieces, we're going to lay a piece of score tape right along the edge without going over. We're going to give that a good burnish. If you are new to working with score tape, it'll get easier. It's kind of funky feeling at first and everything, but you do want to burnish, and it gets the air out from underneath that tape and make sure that it marries well with the paper. If you have any overhang, you'll want to clip it off. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the score tape backing, and then I'm going to lay this on as straight as I can get it. Now for me, I like to use this. I'm not going to be cutting anything, but what I'm using is the paper guide to keep me straight. So I'm just going to put that right on up there. I'm going to grab my other one, and there's a guide here for me. You probably have a guide as well. But this will just make it easier for me to try and get this on straight. So I'll just press that up there, get this one, and lay it over. And that helps to keep me straight. So I'm just going to shuffle this one right on down. Let's grab our score tape and we're going to place a piece over here. And of course we will definitely clip off any overhang that we have. Let's give that a good burnish. And I'm looking pretty good there. So here is the other side to my album wrap. I'm just going to kind of tuck that in there. And I'll remove the score tape backing. Make sure you burnish well. Get that on up there. You don't have to do it like this, but for me, this is how I keep straight. The next pieces that we want are the 8x10 chipboard covers. And we're going to work with the main spine, the 2 3/8 by 10-inch main spine. So we're going to lay this out first, and we're going to need our other ones. But what we're going to do is we're going to all the way over here. Come on, camera, get in focus. We'll leave a 1 inch over here, and we're going to want to leave about an inch here and an inch here. So we're just laying it down for right now. Let's grab that main spine. And it's going to go right next to it, but we need to leave a 1/4 inch spacing between that. Next will come this, and again, a 1/4 inch spacing. The next piece is our right spine, and we're going to bring that right on in there, and we're going to leave a 1/4 inch spacing on that as well. And I'm going to scoot mine down so you can see this is pretty big. Now for this, the cover wrap, we're not going to have a 1/4 inch. What we're going to leave is 1/8 inch in between there, just an 1/8. And when you're done, you should have about an inch, maybe a little over an inch, but that's how it's going to lay out. All right, well, we'll do this together. We're going to start with putting the score tape on our pieces. I do like to show you before we do certain steps. It makes it easier so you don't feel like you're flying blind. Okay, what we do on this, we're going to do with that. And we can go ahead and get all of our covers, our spines and everything out there. The first thing we're going to want to do is put our score tape around the outside, like a picture frame, on each one of these. If you put score tape on the side that you have your writing, so you'll want to write it on the other side so you don't confuse where these are placed. So this one says right spine. I'm just going to put right spine. Cover wrap over. Cover wrap over. That's a mouthful to say. And main spine. Okay. So on our 2 pieces of 8x10, on these, we're going to place a piece of score tape going right down the middle on each one of these. One down the middle. Now on one of these, what you're going to do is grab your cover wrap. Place it down. Because what's going to happen is, I want you to just place it right over to the edge. What's going to happen is we have that latch, and we want to make sure our paper does not lift at all. So you'll use the side here for a marker, and you'll place one here. So that was the side of the chipboard, as you can see, right there. We're going to go down here. I'm just going to go like this just to make sure. And we're going to go 2 over on this side. All right, now 1 down the middle, 1 on each side. Just like that. So this one, now that you have it like this, I want you to flip this over, and I want you to write. And I want you to flip it this way so that we know that this is going to fall where the latch is. I want you to just flip it like this. And you're going to put front cover. And we're going to draw a line just draw a line. So you know that this is where the thing is going to be so that we end up catching this, okay? On the other one, we're not going to need that. I put that down. I was thinking of something else, but we're just going to go one down the middle between those. And that should be plenty because this is going to be for the back. So we'll flip that over and we're going to put back. You don't have to put as much score tape as I did. Just make sure you have one down the middle and one on each side spaced out. Okay, so we have those. Take those away. Here is our cover wrap over. And what we're going to do is put one right next to it, because what's going to happen is this is going to go like this, and we're going to have a latch over here, and we want to make sure that it's going to catch. So right next to each other, and then you can do spaced out over here. Once again, what I want you to do for this is while you have the two next to each other, just flip it over. And you have right here, I want you to draw a line. So we know when this is placed, it's going to be over here, okay? So just do it like that. So right underneath this is where the double is. Here is our right spine, and here is our main spine. So on the right spine, we're just going to section out two. Just like that, and then our main spine we will do two, and just kind of eyeball that, just get two in there. So it's a little bit different than what we normally do. All right, we are getting ready here. We're gonna want our front cover. Now when we place the front cover down, we know that right here, that line we did, is gonna need to place right like this. So if you have it like this and your line's here, we're gonna turn it upside down and we'll place it right on over here. What I like to do sometimes when I'm working with a large piece is I'm gonna grab my pencil. I'm gonna kind of leave that inch here. We'll have about an inch and an inch. Make sure it's straight. And what I'm gonna probably do is just draw a line just along that side. So I know that when I go to place this, it will help me keep straight. So this one's a little more confusing when it comes to that, but I know that you guys can do this. All right, I'm gonna spend a moment and start burnishing this down really good. I'm gonna remove my score tape, and then we're gonna place it together. I have all the score tape backing off. And I'm going to try and keep straight here. That's pretty good. Now, if you don't get it on completely straight, that's okay. The next one, we want that main spine. We're going to remove our score tape and place it. I got the score tape backing off. We're going to leave a 1/4 inch and line up the bottom of this with this one. Okay. The next one is our other back cover. I'm going to remove my score tape backing and we will place this together. I got the backing off, again, a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to line that up with the bottom and make sure that I'm going straight. Looks like I'm fairly straight there. Now we want the right spine. I'm going to remove the score tape backing, and I am going to leave about a 1/4 inch over here. That's good enough. All right, so we did do that line. I'm going to remove the score tape backing, and I'll make sure that we place this correctly together. I have the score tape backing off, and we are going to have the line over to the right. And it's only 1/8, so that's it, 1/8, no more than that. All right, we will burnish the other side here. We'll turn it over. Ooh, I definitely need to clean my top here off. Got some pencil mark. All right, let's carefully give this a good burnishing down, especially where those seams are on this piece. It's so big. All right, so what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be trying to condition the paper, loosen up the fibers. So we're going to start where that seam is here, and you're not going to flip it all the way over. We're going to work at it little by little to avoid any splitting. So just a little bit at a time. We'll do a few passes on this because it's so big, but you're going to want to start where that seam is and just do little by little. We'll come over to this seam now, and then we're going to work ourselves back the other way. I'm about on my, third pass or so, and I'm giving a little more pressure at the bottom, not the top. And we'll go one more time. You should be able to fold over now. So just take your time on that. We're going to do the same thing with this. You start where the seams are and work yourself around. Okay, both sides are done. Now what we're going to do is work on the sides. So we're going to just gently give it a little bend. And we'll do it on this side. Now that we have the sides all ready to go, we're going to need our score tape and we're going to need that Tyvek. We have 4 pieces. We're going to place a piece of score tape along each side. We're not going to go all the way around, just along each side. Now this can wrinkle up on you and get crazy, and don't worry about it. Tyvek is a material that isn't going to tear, but most importantly, if you get wrinkles or if it isn't on straight, it's okay. It gets covered no matter what. So once you have it like that, I'll bring it up. You can see. We're going to do that with each one of these pieces. If any of your Tyvek has a seam in the middle, don't worry about it. It's not going to fall apart. You can just go right on over it. All right, after you got your score tape on and you've burnished, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the score tape backing. You see where our spacing is? This just goes centered right on over it like this. And then this one, and this one. So I'm going to place the first one so you can see. Just right on over it. And again, if you get it on crooked, this gets covered. As long as you're over that, it'll be fine. And we're going to give that a good burnishing. And now all we need to do is remove the backing off these, like I said, and it just goes right on over those gaps. So let's do that really quick. And once again, you may get some wrinkles in your Tyvek when laying it down, but that's okay. Just use your tool and get them ironed out as best you can. And if you have and you still see wrinkles, it's okay. This all gets covered. All right, we got the Tyvek down. We've worked the sides. Let's grab our score tape. Now what we're going to do is lay score tape all the way around like a picture frame on the chipboard without going over the side. I think I've got that down pretty good. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we'll come on over here. Now we don't have to go all the way over to the edge. All you need to do is maybe go as far as the side as the chipboard and lay a piece right along the edge without going over. And we'll bring it all the way down until we find the edge over there. Because this part's going to get clipped at an angle, so you don't need anything up there. No need to waste. We're going to do this on all sides. Once you have that down, let's give that a good burnishing. All right, it's time to clip. At the corner of your chipboard, what you're going to want to do, if you're new at this, is measure out 1/8 and make a pencil mark. So 1/8 inch away from the corner, because you need that little bit of spacing. And then you can just cut at an angle. You don't have to be perfect. And you just do it on each corner, leaving about 1/8 spacing. As you can see, mine are all different sizes. What we're going to do is remove the score tape off of all this. So give me a moment to get all the score tape off. The backing, I should say. Alrighty, all the backing is off. Now we're going to start with the long sides. What you're going to do is start where the seam is shortest over here. And we're going to press, and we'll press out. Okay? And then we're going to work it little by little to get this over. Here's my other seam. Just working it little by little. If you end up getting any wrinkles, we'll burnish it, but we do have another piece that goes over, so you probably won't be able to tell or see it. So once you're done with that, you'll want to burnish that down. Now, where the seam is, don't go against it where you're knocking into the seam. You'll want to go this way with it. Go with the way the seam goes. All right, let's flip that around and we're going to do the same thing. Now the shorter seam is over here. We'll start there. If you have a bone folder or something similar to this, this probably won't work. These thicker ones work as efficiently, I should say. We're going to start with the larger piece of the covers over here. I'm right-handed, so if you're left-handed, you'll want to be over this way. But we want to start with the larger. So I'm placing a hand, I'm going to start up here. Then I'm going to take one of my fingers and I'm just going to press this down to give it a little bit, and you don't have to get it on the score tape, just to give it a little bit of stability there. But we're going to take our tool up to the top and we're going to go like we're rounding a corner, and that should tuck in that little bit, that spacing that we left. I don't know if my camera's going to pick it up, but you can see it tucked it in. Okay, just make sure it's nice and tucked in there. All right. Now what we're going to do is the same thing down here. So I got a hand here, and this is the most awkward for me because I'm going this way, but I'm going to go around that corner as best I can. Once you've done that, now we can take this and fold it over and then grab our tool. What that does is it helps to keep away a very sharp, pointy corner. What you can do is use the flat of your tool, whether you're using this or that, and you can press it down in the corner and go up against it if you need to, shape it a little, or press down any bulk. But this is what it should look like now. Okay, I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to do the same thing. Hand here. You should have a nice edge there. Okay, don't fold yet on any of your pieces. What we're going to work with is the main inner spine cover. And when we place score tape, we'll be placing it on the side that we wrote on. So we're going to start off by putting score tape all the way around like a picture frame. Next on this is an important piece. We have to lay score tape side by side all the way across. This whole thing's going to be covered with score tape. The reason why this one's so important to do that is when we lay it down over our main spine area, it will cover up our Tyvek, and we will center that top and bottom. So you'll probably have a 1/4 inch here and a 1/4 inch here. You want that. But most importantly, once we get that down and we get everything else, this piece is going to hold our pages and those hinges. And we need it to lay flat, and we need it to make sure there is no liftage. So that's why I say this piece is really important. Now, if by the time you get down to the edge and you have a gap that maybe isn't 3/8, if you have 1/4 inch score tape, you can lay it in there, or you can just overlap with your 3/8. It won't hurt nothing. I'm going to remove my score tape backing here, and then we'll lay it together. Okay, I have the backing off here. And again, make sure you have front here, back here, main spine, and this was the main spine. I have pencil marker on mine. Anyway, when you do this, you'll want to try and get it on straight. You will have a 1/4 inch of your chipboard wrap over showing and a 1/4 inch up top. And that's exactly what you want. I do want to get this pencil mark. I think I'm going to have to take a break here and clean up my desk, because I am definitely getting pencil mark when I flip this over. I hate to see what the other side looks like at this point. That's okay. Just make sure you burnish this piece down really well, and don't bend your book just yet. We'll do that together in a moment after we get some pieces down. I'm going to peek. Yep. I'm going to need that eraser. The next one is our right spine cover. And this one's a little bit different. So we will lay score tape around the outside like a picture frame to start. So I have that. Now I want you to grab your score tape. You should be able to see where the spacing is underneath your Tyvek. Okay, so I'm just using my nail to sharpen it up. What we're going to do is lay a piece of score tape to the right and to the left of these. The reason why is when we bend this, we don't want any bubbling up. We want our paper to be sitting nicely. So as far as the height goes, take your piece, lay it down, and you're going to want to have it about a 1/4 inch away from the bottom like you have this one. If it's not quite a 1/4 inch, measure your spacing and you'll know it goes there. So I already have score tape here, so I know I don't have to go to the top. I just need to overlap just a little onto that white cardstock. I am right to the left of that spacing, and I know now I just need to be a little bit onto the white cardstock here. So, and I don't want it on the spacing. I'm going to put it right to the right of that. Okay. And that way we don't get any bubbling up. We're going to do the same over here. So find your little spacing area, overlap onto the white cardstock just a little bit. Get that good burnishing. So now if you were to lay this, just bring it up so you can see where the bottom is. If you were to bring this over to the right and leave 1/8 inch away from the edge of your book there, and just lay it down. You know you have score tape. There's plenty over here. Grab your pencil. See where the score tape is? Just put 1, 2 in between there on this. And over here we'll do 1, 2 strips, if we can get it in there, so we know where to lay it. That way we're not wasting score tape and trying to figure out hit and miss, you know. So I'll turn mine upside down. I know one needs to go here, somewhere in there. You don't have to be precise. And one here. I'll put one here. And right here about. And we know the rest is all taken care of. Let's give this a good burnish. Okay, so you may want to measure, like I said, exactly where you are from the bottom to the bottom of that inner spine cover, right? And I am a 1/4 inch. I'm going to come over here and make sure mark where that 1/4 inch is. And I know I only want to be 1/8 inch away from the edge. So when I place this, it should all be laid down good. And it will straighten out when I'm done. If you get it on a little crooked, that is okay. We have things that will keep people's eyes away from that, and that is our decorative paper and all the pages, and just don't stress it, okay? Okay, I got all the score tape backing off this. Now I'm going to come over here and get it off this. Here we go. I'll just go with it there. I'm not sure how even that is. I think I got it where it needs to be, but we're going to give this a good burnish, just like we did with that, especially around where those spacing is. And while I'm doing this, I'm hearing a lot of crinkling, and that is getting the air out from underneath all that score tape while I'm burnishing, and that's what I like. Okay, so what we can do right now is Place your hand on the main spine. Here's our front, here's our back. I want you to slide your hand back up underneath this and slowly, little by little, go like this. And that's why we did score tape, because if we didn't have any score tape, something consistently along here, we could get bubbling up on this spine. So we're just going to go little by little. And how far you go up, well, what I'd like to do is when I place my hand like this, the minute that this hits this, I'm done. And it may not seem like it's done enough, but it is by the time we're done with the book. So I'm good right there. Put your hand here, your other hand, slide it all the way back underneath here, and we'll slowly do a little pressure, and we'll do the same thing. And that's as far as you're going to do it. Okay, that's as far. Next, we're going to put our hand right where the edge of this is. We're going to slide it all the way, you get out of there, all the way underneath, and we're going to do that again. Just until. This book will loosen up a little bit, so don't worry if you feel like, oh my gosh, that's not going to do it for me. That just doesn't seem like it's going to do well. It will. So we have that. Now put your hand on this one, slide your hand underneath, and find the other one right here. And that's going to be a little bit of a tighter fit than when we have the spacing. And that's what we want. So you'll be able to go like this. You won't be able to hit your hand, and it will bounce back. It's all good. So what's going to happen is by the time we're done here, this comes over. There's my pencil mark, and there it is. The reason why we don't want a lot of spacing on this one, because then this is going to be so much higher, we're going to have to shim it even more to get those latches to work, because this side's higher than this one. See? That ledge. Okay, it is time to get our inner covers. And when I'm done assembling the base album, I'm gonna take a quick break, get some coffee, and clean this thing up because I've got pencil on this. So with the inner covers, what you're gonna wanna do is you will lay score tape around the outside like a picture frame. We're gonna go one down the middle, and we're gonna go one on each side of that. Then what we're going to do is we're gonna lay this over, here's the front, and we will leave 1/8 inch away, or even 3/16. And you're gonna line up the top and the bottom with that inner spine cover. All these pieces should line up together to make it easier. So mine's gonna place right there. And there's my first little hinge. Here's the second part of the main spine. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this. Score tape around the outside, one down the middle, one on each side. Here is my spacing or hinge of my book. Here's the other side. This is going to line up right with your inner spine cover, and you're just going to center that in between, and it will fit. Okay? So let's do that. And I will be doing the first one with you because the second one is identical. I got all the score tape backing off this. And now I'm going to come down, match this up with that, make sure it's even, and I'll leave about 1/8 away from the side. And again, if you don't get this on exact, it's okay, because when we get done with this book, our eyes are going to be drawn to the pages and the decorative paper. What we're doing right now is just making sure we start with a clean inner album and outside of the album before we lay our decorative paper and our pages and all that. Okay, same thing, in between. Line up with the bottom of that, and place it. Now when we reviewed our pieces to make the base album, we had a scrap piece of chipboard. Just set that off to the side. We'll get to that when we get to decorating the outside of the album. I just wanted to keep that with all the other chipboard pieces. Ooh, that looks good. Looks very good. Next thing, the last thing that we have to do right now to get the base album ready to go is our 3 inner pages, 8 1/4 by 9 1/2. On each one of these, we are going to fold on that score line on each one. And then I'm going to erase my writing. And the reason why is because we're going to be labeling our pages. And that way it stays in line with our PDF and it's easy to work with, knowing exactly where we are. All right, I'm right-handed, so what I'm going to do is situate these. The peak is up and I have my little hinge here off to the right. If you're left-handed, you can do it like this to make it easier for you. But on each one of these, what we're going to do is we're going to lay our piece of score tape not on the peak, just to the right, all the way down, and then what we're going to do is lay another piece on the other side. If you have 1/4 inch handy, 1/4 inch score tape, you can use that. Okay? And I'll go ahead and just overlap and do this. You definitely are going to have to clip off any score tape that overhangs on any of this piece, because it might show and collect dust if you have any overhang. So I'm going to be inspecting each one of my pieces here and clipping off any that can be seen. And I'm pretty good up there. Give that a good burnishing. Okay, let's get the rest of our pieces ready to go. I have all of mine done, and you're going to be working with, here's our front, here's our main spine, and then the back, and then we have these over here. I'm going to show you first before we do it so it makes sense to you. I have it to where the peak is down. If I was to do that, the adhesive is down, right? I'll be removing the score tape backing. The front cover gets pulled up. This piece here, I'm going to have this up. I'm just going to push this right up against until it stops. I'll have it lined up with that inner spine cover down here so it's all nicely laid out and not all over the place. And then I'm just going to press it down and then burnish really well. So I'm going to get my score tape backing off and we will place that together. Okay, got the score tape backing off. I'm going to pull it up, and I don't want to get my head in the video, but while this is up, I'm going to take this and line it up with the inner spine cover there, the main one. And there we go. Very easy. Here. So I'm going to fold this over and give it a burnishing from this side. Now the other two are so simple. Again, the peak would be down. Here's that. I'll remove the score tape backing. This just butts up right next to this and lines up. And you press it. And that's the way the last one goes. So I'm going to get my score tape backing off and we will place this together. Got the backing off. I'm just going to bring it right on up next to that. Line it up with the bottom. And press. And it goes in straight. If by any reason you got yours on a little crooked, again, once we get our decorative paper in here and all the fun stuff we have going on, we're not going to be able to really see any of that. Our eyes are going to be drawn to the decorative paper and the stuff we have going on. It always does, so I never worry about the little things like that. Okay, lining it up, make sure I'm even. Press. And then you definitely want to do a good burnishing here. Now if you feel that you have any lumps underneath there, again, you're not going to be able to tell. And there's remedies too, in case your score tape got bunched up on you. Okay, here we go. And my pages fall pretty straight. All right, so once we have it open, Here's our front. I want you to flip this over, and here's that. You're going to write front. And make sure your orientation is correct. Bring this over. You can just kind of hold there. This is the front wrap. While you have it like this, hold on to it, flip it. Now your right spine. And we're going to rotate it again. Back. And we will rotate it left spine. Okay, so let's situate this. We have that. Open it up. On the inside cover of the front, we're going to put a 1. On our next page is a 2. We'll flip that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, here's the very back, 8, and then over here, we'll very lightly, we'll put right, inside, spine, and then what we're going to put is inside, cover wrap. Just for now, okay? And that's going to help you identify where exactly we are in case you get confused, okay? Now, let's talk about, in case you have splinters, where those seams are. Okay, here's a seam, and where's my other seam? I thought I had another seam here. I do. It's right here on the left spine. So what you can do is make sure your hands are clean, and if you have any pencil marks up there, definitely get rid of it. Anything. And I need to clean this up. I'm going to go wash this as soon as I'm done and get my eraser out. But what you're going to want to do is here, I see something just starting where that seam is. You might see some splintering where the seam is, so grab your glue. Okay, so I'm going to lift that up a little bit, and I'll show you, because I want to get underneath it. See, I just kind of lifted that up a little. So now I'm going to dab a little bit of glue, not a whole lot. Okay, make sure I don't have too much. Now with my finger, I am going to take it and push over the way it's supposed to go. I'm going to do tap, tap, and be done. If you feel like it needs more tapping or rolling over, wait 5 minutes, and then you can add your glue again and tap it down. You don't want to do any more than 2 taps because the glue will dry and you're going to start tearing at it. So you can check all your seams and see how they are. And I'm looking pretty good down there. If I see anything, I will fix it. All right, we are now moving on to decorating the outside. And again, do not worry about this, okay? It's gonna be stiff. And once we get our latch on and everything, it's going to work because we did not want a huge spacing over here. We want this to be able to nestle in that corner. All right, let's go on to decorating the outside. We're on to decorating the outside, and we had pre-cuts. We had 3 pieces we cut identical, 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, and we just called it a mat. There's no scoring. In your paper pack, you will find this print, and on the back, it is this. Let's go ahead and take off the trim piece, and then we're going to put this on our paper cutter, and we're going to cut and divide each of these up. And I'll show you what mine looks like. So I have cut and divided all of mine. We're going to pull out this one. We're going to pull out this one, and we are going to flip it over. So these are the ones we have so far. And we're going to pull out this one, which has the blue on the back. Now these you can put in a stack in your scrap pile, or as I call it, a reserve pile. Your reserve pile is the same thing as a scrap pile. We're just reserving to use our scrap pieces or leftover pieces at another time in the tutorial. However, because these are all cards, I'm just going to keep these in its own little separate pile so they're easy for me to get after. Let's grab this one. Now, if we were to place this down and center it in there, it should give us a white border with our cardstock. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to glue that down to that. We'll grab our other two. Same thing. The blue gets centered on in there. We'll glue that down. And then we'll do the same with the pink. So let's do that really quick. I have all of mine glued down, and now I'm just going to set these off to the side. We're going to cut some of our paper, and we're going to do it together to start. In your paper packs, you will find two of these. On the back, it is this. The first thing we want to do is take off those trim pieces on each one. All right, so that we have the same leftover pieces, we're going to turn these over. And you see where the dark of the clouds on the back is? We'll just double these up. And what we're going to do is once we have them like this, is I try to stay consistent first off. I try to tell you to start here and measure over this way. I may have us turn our sheet, but I'll still start over here and tell us to measure over this way. At least 98% of the time, unless I tell you something different. And the reason is that way I'm not having you cut up, down, left, right, all over. And we'll end up with the same leftover pieces so that it's easier to find our pieces in our reserves, our scrap pile. So if you have yours and you situate it to where now your clouds, the darker part is down here, we're going to start over here. Measure over 9 7/8 and cut. So, and again, I have mine doubled up. If you don't like doubling yours up, you'll do the same on each. 9 7/8. And my blade is right over here. These pieces right here are going to go into our reserve pile. All right, we're going to turn this completely upside down from what we had. The dark of the clouds is over here. Measure over 8 inches and cut. We'll start there. We'll see how we do with that. If we need to trim off a little more, we will. So right now, those darker pieces are going in reserves. All right, we're going to need to get our paper on before we can install our latch. So take one of these, and I'm going to show you first before we do it. If you were to lay this on your front and center it top and bottom and side to side, you will end up with a white border on each side. If you find that you are going over by doing that, giving yourself about maybe a 1/16 or so of white, if you find that your edge of your paper is going over the spine, you're going to need to trim off just a little bit, but this is how mine is going to fit. See, there's a little bit of white, and there's a little bit of white there and down there. So we're going to do that here with the front, and then what we're going to do is we will flop this over, and we will do exactly the same with the back. So the first thing we're going to want to do is lay our papers out in front of us. I do like using score tape on my covers. So score tape around the outside like a picture frame on each one of these. We'll start there. I have score tape around the outside. Now we're just going to, on what we do on this one, we're going to do on that one. So we'll go one down the middle. And we're going to go 2 on either side of that. We're going to give this a good burnish. Okay, so what you might want to do to make this easier to get on your cover straight, because score tape is not forgiving, is Once you have your score tape backing off, put a little glue around the bottom here. And the reason why is that way when you start to place this, you can maneuver this a little before it all grabs. And that way you can get it on straighter. I'm going to remove my score tape backing. Okay, here I go. All right, and I'm just going to open that up and burnish this down really good. All right, we're going to do the same. Get the score tape backing off, put a little glue down here. And I'm going to make sure that mine is kind of like this so it's easier to work with. We'll center it in there and we'll glue it down and then burnish. So let's do that. I have the front and the back on. We're going to go ahead and get for right here. And I had to go get a sweater on. It's kind of chilly up here. Anyway, in your reserves, you will have these two long, narrow strips, and on the other side, it is this. So what we're going to do is you'll see that there are some of the clouds over here. We're going to double those up. We're going to measure over 9 7/8 and cut. These two small pieces put in your reserves. All right, so we have that. Now on this one, what we're going to do, just on one of them, we're going to measure over 1/4 inch and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. Put that in your reserves. All right, here's the front. One thing that you might want to do is get a binder clip or something that is going to help you with holding this together when it comes time for the latch. All right, first thing we're going to do with this is we are going to center this top and bottom on this piece. And I'm just holding it here right now. And you're going to leave maybe a 1/16 of white here. So you're going to have a larger white over here. And we're going to place that. I'm going to use score tape. So I'm going to go score tape around the outside like a picture frame and then 2 down. So this is what I have so far. I'm going to remove the score tape backing and get this on. And I'm going to shoot a little glue down at the bottom. All right, so here's this strip, and I'm just going to use glue. And all I'm going to do is place that right on over here, and I'll leave just a little bit of a white border, like a 1/16. So let's get that on. And then what we'll do is we will get the side spine, the sides, and then we'll start to get everything else together. So that is what it should look like so far. All right, the right spine. You should have 2 of these in your reserves. They're the wider ones, and they're already 9 7/8. So this will work good for us. So we'll look at one of them. On this one, we're going to measure over 2 5/8 and cut. So again, we're working on the right spine, and all we're going to do is place that even, side to side, top to bottom. And we'll do the same thing with the score tape. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame, and then 2 down the middle. Alrighty, let's go ahead and give that a good burnish. I'm just going to open mine up. Alright, that looks good. We're now going to go to the left spine. With this piece, measure over 2 3/8 and cut. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame, and you can on this one go 1 down the middle and maybe shoot some glue in there. And then what we're going to do is the same thing, center it in there, and then once it's down we will burnish. So let's do that really quick. All right, so we have that on. If you have a binder clip or maybe one of these little clippy things, ratchets, I think they're called. What you're going to do is make sure that this piece is tucked in there to the corner. And then we're just going to use our clip there. And I'm going to clip mine down here. We had that little piece of chipboard, and we also have our pieces here. And this swings this way. So you're going to need your pencil. So go ahead and just put that right through there. And what you're going to want to do is just place this down. Now it's going to be uneven because we have to shim this side, but I want you to put this down so you can see. And once you place this down, you should see that this will fit. This piece here is going to go to about 1/16 away from the edge of this. Okay, let's grab our pencil. And you're going to want to get this somewhere in the middle. So mine actually comes to the edge of my decorative paper. If you're a little lower and taller, that's okay. So once you have it there, place your finger on the middle. And what you're going to do is use your pencil in the holes so you know where that needs to be. Okay, we can move that away for right now. We're going to set these in just a moment. Now for this piece, we need to shim it. So what you're going to want to do is lay it down on that chipboard. What we're looking at doing is just cutting around it. And so I have a little bit here. I have it up to the side without going over. And I'm just going to kind of draw next to, draw next to it. And this gets covered with paper too. So mine's just a little rough thing here. And just in case I need two pieces, I'm just going to cut two for now. So here's this. And I will cut this. And just in case I need a second one, I'm just going to use that as my guide. And then I can always even them up. Okay, so these two pieces here, place some glue and go together. And then let's see if we need another one. I'll just hook that right on in there. Place this down. And I think I'm going to do one more. And I'll glue that one on there too. So about 3 shims should be good. What you're looking at doing is just making sure that it's high enough. Your left side is high enough that it's going to latch without bending the latch. That will work. So we got our 3 shims. We'll put that and that over there. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Now these little holes, what you're going to want to do is take your craft knife and just poke right on through. You'll want to get to the back side because this is where our brads will go in. So just be careful. Just enough so that we can get that brad through. And I'm going to get the other one in there. Okay, I'll press those little brads down. Here's the thing on the brads. You're going to want to use the smaller head brads, like little small one. The ones I'm using is the Tim Holtz long fasteners. So on the back side, what you're going to want to do is put some glue around those little back prongs. And you're going to flip them this way. And don't worry, we have paper later on to go on the inside. I'm just kind of turning these brads so that I'm pushing down, because we will have paper go over that to help secure it. But you want to get them fairly flat against that and in as best you can. Okay, so there's that. Now let's bring this up. Make sure you're even top and bottom with your flaps. We'll lock these down or binder clip them down. Okay, so now what we want to do is wrap this with a little paper. In your reserves, you will have one of these. So what you're going to want to do is place this down on there. And we're going to draw a little line. And all I'm going to do right now is just cut, to shorten this up a little. And then I'll cut it again. Well, we're just doing this by hand. So I'm putting some glue there. I'm going to place it about 1/8 of an inch away. Okay. And I'll pull that down. Make sure that the edge, though, does not go over the edge of your chipboard. You just want enough to go around the sides there. And we'll hold it for a moment so you can see. Oops, I need to wash my hands. Get off there. And then I'm going to pull it down for the side. And I can see now where it goes. You can make a pencil mark if you'd like. And I'm just going to trim that. And I'm going to apply some glue. And pull that over. All right, this part, we're going to lay it down in the middle. We're going to take our pencil. And this is the part where it's going to take some time, but we're going to poke a hole through there because the brads will actually wrap to the back of this. So I have this, and now what we're going to do is I am going to put some glue around the edges here. Make sure your brads go through first. And I'm going to place it on there. Okay, and I'm going to hold this. I'm going to get this first one down and put a little glue under there. And we're going to make sure that this lays really flat. Get my other one in. So I'm pretty dry. I'm going to coat this with some glue. I'm going to put the latch in so I know that it's going to latch for me. And then I'm going to press it. And I'm going to take a look to make sure I am straight. And then I'm going to be able to get this in and out, and I can. So I'm going to hold this for a moment. My hand underneath and that. And now I'm going to set this off to the side to dry. Okay, it's time to place our panels, and I'm going to give you the measurements for this. So what you're going to do is grab your pencil and your ruler, and the first one you're going to place is your blue one. From the top, measure down 2 1/8 and lightly put a pencil mark. Come in from the side at 3/4. Place a light pencil mark. Now you know where the top of your blue panel is going to go, here and to the side, and glue it down. Now for the pink one, you're going to shimmy it all the way until it hits the latch. And then it comes up from the bottom, 1 7/8, and you can put a pencil mark there and then glue that down, and then this piece just goes right on top. This should be dry by now. Okay, so I got a couple pieces. I'm going to put this off to the side. I've got a couple pieces off already. I thought I had the camera turned on, but I didn't. In your paper pack, you will have 2 of these. Let's look at one for now. I want you to get this piece right here out. So all I did was I came in, cut, and then I cut this out. So grab that one. And then you will grab the other one, blue, that's sitting right here. And all I did was come up in between this and then cut out around. So there's 2 of those. Once you do that, you can put that one in your reserves. On this one, you're going to come up to, let me put this back here. On this one, you have a pink heart here, and all I did was cut to get that out. And you have another blue one, which is here, and you have a pink heart here. So again, I just came up in between the fence and this and cut out these two pieces. Put that in your reserves. So you will end up with 3 blue. One blue is slightly larger than the other two, which is fine. And then we have 2 of the smaller pink hearts. We're going to cut out and around each one of these. So let's do that, and I'll show you mine as soon as I'm done. Okay, I have all mine cut out. And we will not be backing these with any cardstock. We don't need to. So look at your blue ones. You will notice one is slightly larger than the other, and that's the one we want to start. And this is really simple. Just adds a little something to our thing. And I'm just going to come to somewhere in the middle there, from top and bottom, and I'll place it. Then I'm going to take my other 2 blue ones and just place these. Now, you don't need to measure, just lay them down first and eyeball it. But I'm just going to kind of go up here. I think if you want to know where I'm at, I can give you a measurement for setting these, but we're going to go at the top and the bottom part. And I'm probably not going to be entirely even and accurate because I'm just eyeballing this, but trying to keep it in line. And then I'll grab one of my pinks. It'll just place in between the blues there. Whoops, getting crazy. All right, and then my other one right here. So for the bottom of one of my hearts, I am probably about 5/8 up from the bottom. You can go 5/8 down with up here and then just kind of center them on in there. Now, if you are not using flowers, your cover would be done and it looks very pretty. But I am going to be using some leaves and some flowers. All right, so I'm going to just kind of throw down a few things here. Now, I don't want to totally cover her up or anything like that, so I'm just going to kind of lay these down, and if I need to make these smaller, I will. I have a blue flower. I'm just going to kind of play around with these. Trim off any stems that need to be. And that's all I'm doing, is just going to kind of play around with some flowers here. And I might try to sneak in one of these darker ones to see. I think I'm going to lay mine out something like this, kind of pull this off to the side a little bit more, pull this one up. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and glue some of these down. I also have a little white one I can get in there too. So that's all I'm going to do. I had made this one, but I think I like this little lighter colored one up in here. Okay, so I have all those down. I like it. Again, if you want to just leave it plain with no flowers, you can. We are now moving on to page 1. We're on page 1 and we have some pre-cuts. So let's go over them. So our first pre-cut was a 3.5 by 6 3/4 piece, and we called it a right FO fold out pocket. The first thing we did on this was we laid this so we are 3.5 inches across. We scored at 1/2. The instructions then said to rotate or turn your piece so you're now sitting at 6 3/4. We scored at 1/2 and 6 1.25. Our next piece, 3.5 by 8 inch, we called it a back pocket. We laid this on our scoring board so that we are 3.5 inches across. We scored it at 1/2 and then we turned it, so now we're laying at 8 inches across. We scored at 1/2 and 7.5. Our next piece was a 6 7/8 by 9.25, and we called it a left fold out. Now I want to say this is that it doesn't matter if your scoring board starts over here to score or if it starts over here. Okay, I'm going to turn mine upside down. We laid this so we are 6 7/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5/8. Okay, and again, don't worry where you scored. I will situate us when we get to attaching this stuff. Our next one was a 3.5 by 7.75. We called it a left fold out side pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3.5 inches across. We scored at 1/2. We then turned our piece, so now we're 7.75 across. We scored at 1/2 and 7.25. Our next piece was a 6 5/8 by 9.25. We called it a right fold out. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 6 5/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5/8. Next, we had a smaller piece, 2 3/4 by 4.5. We called it a bottom strap. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 4.5 across. We scored at, and then we scored at 11/16. So if you need to know where 11/16 is, if you look at your 3/4 and your 5/8, it is right in between there. So I usually do a pencil mark. I move it over to get in line with one of the valleys there, and then I score it. Our next one is a 2 3/4 by 7.5 top strap. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 7.5 across, and once again we did 1/2 and 11/16. Wow, those are a lot of pre-cuts. And this is a really simple page, and I think you're going to like it though. So now we're going to get into our paper pack, and we're going to locate this print. And on the back, it is this. First thing, let's take off that trim piece. All right, got the trim piece off. First thing we're going to do is measure over 7.25 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We'll turn it sideways, measure over 9.25 and cut. And here is our main base decorative sheet. Let's grab our 3.5 by 8 inch back pocket. And we're going to need our scissors for this. Alrighty, if you are new to this style of pocket, you'll notice we have scored lines on each side, one across the bottom, and it makes a square with those score lines. So we're just going to cut out those squares on each side. So there it is. Now we just fold back on all of our little flaps here. And this bottom long strap, that's the bottom of the pocket. So in the tutorial, when we're doing this and we're ready to place this, I'll say this is the opening. So then you know that that's the bottom. So you know which way our opening is going. So once you've done that, let's get our glue. And what I like to do is fold in those sides and hold down this flap. And then I know glue needs to go over here in the corner without getting past that side if you were to bring it down. We just need a little glue in the corner. And then we'll fold those up. Alright, so this one here isn't going to fit completely side to side. It's going to actually come down to the bottom, and we will center it side to side. So you'll have about 1/8 of an inch of your decorative paper here and here. So we're going to apply glue to these flaps on the back. We will bring it down, the opening is here, and center it side to side as best we can. Okay, if you'd like to pucker it just a little bit, not too much, you know, but just a little bit to get a little more in that pocket, you can. Okay, here's where the fun begins. This is something different. We're going to make this pocket look pleated. So we're going to find some decorative paper. In your reserves, you will have this print on the back. It is this. First thing I'd like you to do is measure over 2 7/8 and cut. This is the piece that we want. We are going to turn it over. We need our scoring board. So we're going to do this together, of course. This is not on your pre-cutting guide because the only thing that you're going to see on there is for the white cardstock chipboard Tyvek. So if you would like to make notes, you can. And the best way to make notes is right underneath page 1, you'll see on the PDF there's places for notes. Right now we are 2 7/8 by 12 inches. Here we go, and I will go over this again. Our first one is at 1 inch, 1 1/4, and this is pretty thick paper, 1 3/4, 2 inch, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 1/2, 7 3/4, 8, 8 1/2, 8 3/4, 10, 10 1/4, 10 3/4, and 11. All right, so let's review this. I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to call out the measurements again so that you can place yours down and double check. And it doesn't matter if your scoring starts this way or that way. The first score line was at 1 inch, then 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 1/2, 7 3/4, 8, 8 1/2, 8 3/4, 10, 10 1/4, 10 3/4, and 11. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is we'll just hold it like this, up and down. Your first score line, we are going to fold towards us, and you're going to want your tool. So folding toward us. This next one, we're going to fold away. Okay? The next one, we're going to fold away. And you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. That next one, we're going to fold towards us. And I'm not sure if I'm calling this out right, but... And then the next one comes towards us. And I'm just making sure it's kind of lining up with my paper there. The next one, fold back and away. The next one, we're going to fold back and away. Okay? This next one, we're going to fold towards us. I guess that's towards us. I guess towards us this way. You'll see what I'm doing here. What's going to happen is here's that 1/2 inch and then there's the smaller ones. The smaller ones tuck back behind and form a pleat. So that's all we're doing here. So here we'll fold up. I guess I should be saying folding up. And then fold back. Fold back. Fold toward us. Okay. Fold toward us. I'm making sure I'm lining up with the sides here. Okay, fold away. Where is that? Right there. Fold away. Fold back, I guess. And once again, fold back. And then this one fold towards us. This next one fold towards us. Next, fold away. Next, fold away. And the last one is to fold towards us. Okay, so we'll just lay this out here, and I'm going to bring it up. You'll want your glue. Here is that. So you don't want this side. You don't want to look at that side. We're looking at this side here. And you will see the little spacing about 1/4 inch in there. Oh my goodness, I need to clean this. And I'll bring it up. See the little thing here? We're going to add some glue. And then we're going to push back on it. And we'll give that a good burnishing. Wipe up any glue that squirts out. Okay. Here's that next little one right there. We'll put glue in there. And we'll just tuck it back behind, and it creates that pleat. And if you need to add a little more glue to keep it down, do so. Okay. We're going to come to the next little 1/4 inch, apply some glue, and push over on it. And we'll get the other side. And we're just going to continue to do this until we are done. And if your paper curls like this, that's okay. We will get it all done. One thing you might want to do, add it back behind here to keep it down. And that will help. So once you're done there, just kind of just open it up, add some glue back here, and then you close it. Okay, so when we're done, it will look like this. On the back, we've got that all glued down. Let's grab this. If we need to do any trimming, we can. But we're just going to glue that down and leave a little bit of a white lip. And I think this is going to look really nice. Now look, isn't that cute? I think it looks really good. The next one that we want is the 6 7/8 by 9 1/4. It's our left fold out. We're going to lay that down and we're going to fold on both those little score lines. If you are new to this, what this is for is that little spacing in there. Once this comes back around, it creates a little bit of a spacing in there. So to get this on, what you're going to do is you're going to see your score line inside and outside. On the outside one, you're going to pinch and crease. You will still be able to see your other one. And we're just going to bring that, wrap it right back behind. Make sure it's settled in there. Hold on to it with 2 hands. If you feel it slip, realign. I like to keep my hands on it at all time and pressure down. And then I place a hand here. I can open this up. And most of the time, you can see that score line once you do that. And it should look straight for you. And we're just going to add some glue to this flap. And then we're going to check to make sure no glue seeped into our inside pages, because then we won't be able to get it open. It'll tear on us. Okay, wipe up the excess. We're going to quickly flip this over, and then we're going to look right in here, and we can feel with our hands to make sure no glue seeped out. And we don't. You can also burnish from this side too if you're having a problem. Okay, so the next thing is, as you can see now, we have an outside score line, and you're going to push back against it so it's flattened out, and then you're going to push in until it creates the spacing. All right, we're going to go ahead and open that up and work to get our inside paper. In your paper pack, you will have this print on the back. It is this. Let's take off that trim piece. I got the trim piece off, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn this sideways, measure over 5 7/8 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We're going to go ahead and turn it to where it's upside down. The little bird is upside down over there. Measure over 9 inches and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to center it right on in there. And that should give you 1/8 of an inch away from that score line over here, and you should have some space there. Let's glue that down. If you'd rather have it like this, you can. I'm going to do it this way. All right, in your reserves, you will have one of these. And one of them we cut in from the side to get that heart out. This is one where we didn't, and we just kind of clipped off. I want to just go around this piece, carefully anyway, get that out. Let's start there. So all I'm going to do is kind of weave around this piece. Fussy cut it, but I'm not going to be real persnickety because there's a lot of stuff going on. So here's mine. I'm going to bring it up so you can see, and I kind of made the edges kind of rounded. Put this off to the side. Grab some scrap white cardstock, and we're going to glue this down. And then what we're going to do is, after doing that, we're going to cut out and around this image once more, leaving a little bit more of a white border. You should have probably about 1/16 of white border going around. And what that does is it's going to clean up our image a little bit, and it's going to strengthen it because we're going to create a tuck here. As soon as I'm done cutting mine out, I will bring it up and show you. So here is mine. Another reason why I back a lot of my stuff is because it actually helps to bring an image forward. So I am going to place this right off to the left without going over. And I'm not quite done yet. So the heart's going to be here. Here's this. I'm going to rotate this over. And I'm going to grab glue and just kind of bring it down like that. Not so much over there. So around here to about here. And that way it leaves it open to get stuff in and out. If you need to apply more glue, you feel, do so. But the idea is that you can slide a photo back behind. Maybe you want to store it. Maybe you want to frame it. You know, especially if you're using a larger one or on the landscape. I like to use my tucks to hold photos. Bring this back out. We're going to do a little bit of layering. You see this here? Let's get that out. I'm going to put the rest in. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut out and around this. Then we're going to use some white cardstock, glue it down, and cut out and around. Same way. And I'll show you mine as soon as I am done. All right, I am not the greatest at doing these small little fussy cut thing, but I think what I want to do is just kind of place that right there. Okay, if you want to make this a little tuck for a tag, you can do that too. For me, I'm going to go down the bottom and up the side and leave the rest open. And then I'll just place it. We have a little bit of layering going on there. Alrighty, we'll close that up. We're going to find our paper for here. In your paper pack, you will find another one of these, and on the back it's this. Let's take off that trim piece. So the first thing I would like you to do is turn this sideways. You have your bird and the nest over there. We have this here. We're going to measure over 9 inches and cut. The next thing I would like you to do is put this on your paper cutter. And you see where the side of the door frame is? We're just going to cut this all the way down. We're going to start there. So that is what I cut off. This goes in our reserves. Okay, so this is what you should have now. Measure over 6 inches and cut. We have our door. We are going to place that down. Make sure you center top and bottom, and you'll have a white border from your fold out. And we're going to glue that down. I love doors and prints, and I love wood grains. I love it to mix in when I'm doing mini albums. I think it looks really nice. And again, you'll want to center that top and bottom, side to side. Let's see, am I straight? I think I'm good enough there. And we'll give that a good burnishing. And if you flatten out your spacing over there, you can always push it back down to get a good burnish, and then push it back in to create your spacing. You won't hurt it. We want the 3.5 by 7 3/4 left fold out side pocket. Once again, score lines are here and across the bottom. Cut out the squares. Once you have that, we'll turn it over. We will fold all those flaps towards us, and then we will adhere it down in the corner like we did before. And I need to wash my hands again. I've gotten glue. I am the messiest person with glue. That is for sure. Okay, so this is going to be a side pocket. And here is the opening. And what we're going to do is we are going to center that top and bottom and bring it over to the side of our decorative paper, not the fold out. So let's get some glue on there. There we go. You can pucker that up a little if you'd like, so you can get more in there. But I think you'll be able to, even if you don't. You just don't want to pucker it up so much. I mean, here's mine. I've got a nice opening there, as you can see, but I didn't pucker way up to warp the papers. So we're not going to do the pleated thing. What we're going to do is look in our reserve for this piece with the 2 birdhouses. This is about 2 7/8, the perfect width that we need, and this is about 9 inches tall. So we are going to turn it this way. Here is the white and the blue birdhouse. Measure over 6 3/4 and cut. Let's apply glue, and we're going to bring that over, and that'll give us a white lip. Okay, next thing that we're going to do is grab our right fold out. And we're just going to fold on those score lines. Okay, so the hinge is going to be off to the right on the outside. We're going to pinch and crease, and we're going to hook it completely back behind. Open it up, check to make sure that score line is straight. If it looks crooked, not going straight with your paper, you'll want to realign. Something went wrong. So I was going to do something a little bit different on this page, but with these fold outs, but I'll do it on a different page. But we'll push back. So there we are. There's our page. And we're going to open it up. In your reserves, you will have this print. On the back, it is this. So we're going to look at it like this. Measure over 5 3/4 and cut. After making that, you'll have a really long piece. Put that in your reserves. We'll turn it like this. The bird is over here. Measure over 9 inches and cut. All right, apply glue. And we're going to glue that down. Okay, same thing. Stay away from your score line, center top and bottom. All right, let's close that up. In your paper pack, you will have this print. On the back, it is the blue. Let's take off that trim piece. Okay, so we are going to turn this upside down. The girl on our bike is up over here. Measure over 5 3/4 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We'll turn it sideways. The bird is over here. Measure over 9 inches and cut. We're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue that down right here. Center it side to side. Okay, once you have that, let's grab our 3.5 by 6 3/4 right fold out pocket. And once again, we'll cut out the squares, fold back, and adhere to make our pocket. My pocket is adhered, and we're going to apply glue to those tabs. And we'll bring it down to the bottom and place it. Let's set this off to the side. In your reserves, you will have this print. Turn it upside down. This is the one with blue on the back. Measure over 2 7/8 and cut. All right, once you have that, turn it this way. Measure over 10 3/4 and cut. All right, let's grab the scoring board. We're going to flip it to where the blue side is up. Here we go. First one, 7/8. 1 1/8. 1 5/8. 1 7/8. 2 7/8. 3 1/8. 3 5/8, 3 7/8, 4 7/8, 5 1/8, 5 5/8, 5 7/8. 6 7/8, 7 1/8, 7 5/8, 7 7/8, 8 7/8, 9 1/8, 9 5/8, and 9 7/8. We'll see how that looks. Okay, let's turn it like this. The first score line you come to, fold up. The next one, fold back. The next one, we're going to fold back, or away from us, I guess you'd say. So, this next one, we'll just fold it towards us. So once again, what we're doing is the same thing as pleating, like this. So we're going to continue to do this. The next one. All right, so if you did it wrong, just know that the wider part is up front, and the other two manipulate to tuck back behind. And we're going to do the same thing we did before, adding the glue in the front parts, getting that situated. And then once we're done with that, we'll get back behind. So let's go ahead and do that. Alrighty, I have mine done here. And it looks like my neighbor's out with some power tools, so I am gonna have to take a break. But what we're gonna do is apply glue. We'll bring it down to the bottom of the pocket. That'll give us a white lip. And then when I come back after they are done doing some of their yard work, it'll be a little bit quieter, easier to concentrate. This camera picks up everything. Okay, it's a new day. The neighbors were out working the rest of the day on their yard and power washing. So what we're gonna do now, looks like we are to get on the straps. So grab your bottom strap And you're going to want to fold on those 2 score lines, okay? You'll want to give this just a little bend without creasing. What we're going to do is slide that back behind in the middle. We're going to glue this down. And it's going to be a tight fit, and that's why we're going to give it a little bend. But we're just going to wrap that right around there. Okay, and again, a little bend. And now we want to get on the top strap. So we will go ahead and do that, give that their little thing. And we're going to place that over the top and line up with the bottom one. So you might want to place your hand down on that. There. And I'm going to hold it. Now, if for whatever reason this gets on a little crooked, we do have magnets, so that'll help us. And I just want to try and get this on as straight as I can. Let's see. Yep, that works. Let's get some paper for this, and we also are going to need to get a magnet. So let's grab a plus and a minus. Here's a plus and here's a minus. What we're going to do is cut our paper for this first, and then what we'll do is we'll be grabbing this out of our little card thingy, and we're going to need to back that with some white cardstock. In your reserves, you will have this piece. It is 12 inches long, 3 inches wide. Measure over 2 5/8 and cut. Once you do that, turn it this way. I have blue over here. Measure over 6 5/8 and cut. Now, after making that cut, this is what you should have. This little piece we still need to cut down a little. We'll just stick that off to the side. And this is going to be for this now. I'm going to give you a measurement. Measure over 3 5/8 and cut. Okay, so we're not going to, we'll just leave this off to the side for this. This is going to need to put a magnet there. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to apply glue, and we're going to put this down on the top, and we're centering it in there so we still have a little bit of a white border. So let's do that. And we're going to use a couple other scrap pieces too to finish up. Now on this piece, once you have that down, give it a soft little bend, okay? We're going to flip that up. In your reserves, you will find this piece. This is 2 3/4 by 7 1/4. Measure over 2 5/8 and cut. So just a little skinny piece came off of that. We're going to turn it, measure over 6 5/8 and cut. All right, first thing that we're going to want to do right now is we're going to grab a plus, and we're going to come up here to the longer one, and from the top here to the side, I would say maybe a 1/4 inch max. And just place that there. Now let's apply glue, and we're going to glue that down. And we'll make sure we get around that magnet. Let's grab the minus, and we're going to place it there. Again, we'll give that little soft bend, and this should have a soft bend. But if you were to bring this down, that is going to land your magnet right here. So you have the mate on. Let's take off the adhesive back on the minus. And again, a little bend. And this is where you can line it up better. Because of all this bulk, it is hard to get these on straight. So I am just going to do that. Softly push, but not all the way down. And I'm going to press. Now, because these magnets are pretty strong and we still have to get a paper down here, I would just shimmy it off for right now. Now we can apply glue to this and get it down. All right, I got mine down. Let's open this up. Now in your reserves, you will have this piece. This piece is 3 inches by about 5 3/4. so that we have the same leftover. I have the bird looking down. Measure over 2 5/8 and cut. Next, measure over 3 5/8 and cut. All right, let's apply glue. And then we're going to need some white cardstock from our scraps from when we did our pre-cuts. That's what I use. Look in there to see if you have anything. If not, you'll need to drag out a new piece. So again, I'm going to, while this glue is still soft, I'm going to kind of give it a bend. This already has a bend, and we latch. Okay? I found this in my reserves. What we're going to do is we're going to apply glue to this. Now I could have just done a pre-cut for a mat, but this was an afterthought. And I'm just going to place this down on some scrap cardstock, and I'm going to leave a 1/16 inch of white all the way around. So I'll be cutting around that. Then I'm going to use my paper cutter so I can get a straight cut. I'll show you. There we go. And now what we're going to do is just kind of glue that down right like this. And I think that'll look good. So I'm just going to add some glue here. And place it. Looks good. So page 1 is complete. And we're not going to place this in our book yet. We'll place it after we place page 2. But what we are going to do is turn it over. We're going to go score tape around the outside like a picture frame. 1 down the middle and 1 on each side. And then we're going to set it off to the side. So don't take off the backing. So we're going to be conserving on some score tape. If I feel that after removing the score tape backing we need to shoot some glue in here, I'll tell you. But this is our page 1 and it's beautiful. We are now going to move on to page 2.